want to talk about today's all presentation was very informative. I learned a lot from those presentations. And coronavirus outbreak has prompted rethinking of internationalization. Internationalization in higher education. Intercultural doesn't necessarily mean international or outside your country. There are many, many intercultural issues in the local community or even inside the country, but we often overlook those issues. How would we be able to combine online or cyberspace learning with local intercultural learning or local intercultural issues? How would we take the local cultural context into online learning when learners attend the class from home in a very homogeneous community, not Tokyo, not Osaka, the small cities and rural area? How would we replicate or maybe newly create intercultural learning in online settings or in a local environment? And we should also, as Elspeth mentioned, we should move beyond the binary notion of international and domestic students. We may have overlooked the classroom cultural diversity, as also Elspeth mentioned. At the same time, in Japan, we should be aware of the production of the Japanese others when encouraging international students to get a job in Japan, and also global Japanese when promoting study abroad for Japanese students. So in the field of international education, there's still the binary notion of those two groups of students. It's not easy to integrate them on campus. And internationalization of curriculum, this is a core part of internationalization home. As Joss mentioned, neither offering the electives of so-called international courses, nor teaching English is the internationalization of the curriculum. But how we internationalize a tight-packed curriculum of STEM field or law school? How we move beyond electives or specialized international courses and programs? Would COIL be an enabler for this movement? Before the pandemic, COIL was seen as a complement to study abroad. As Joss mentioned, we also Japan believe that COIL stimulates physical mobility or study abroad. However, COIL is now becoming a viable or realistic modality of international and intercultural education and learning. How can we maximize the potential of COIL or online learning after using those tools or methodology as an emergency countermeasure? Regarding COIL, also as Josh said, it is essential to shape the C in COIL. Doing things together doesn't mean collaborative. How can we create meaningful and effective collaborating learning space or environment on campus through formal and informal curriculum? Thank you very much. I just now, it takes time to digest what I learned today. More, I just kind of throw those questions, maybe to stimulate the discussion, I hope. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for Oda Sensei. Shall we invite some questions in chat? That we have several questions. One from Fukudome Sensei, but it seems like it's already answered. And then we have one more from Professor Jack Lee, that local diversity can certainly is further internationalization of home, but conceptually, how is that different from simply intercultural or multicultural educations? So if anyone wants to answer to this question, please be able.
I think that's exactly the point, that all of these are effectively the same thing. They're all part of the same story, and we divide things up into, people say internationalization of the curriculum is different from internationalization at home. Well, it isn't really. And multicultural education and equality and diversity, and some of all of these issues are bound together in the same story, and we need to not go down the route of dividing things up and thinking separately, but to have a more holistic view of what all of this means and what this means for our students.
It may not come as a surprise, but I fully agree with this. And I think we are still bothered by the word internationalization. And we haven't found an alternative, but to me, it is about adding different perspectives to realize that the way you do it at home is only one of the ways to do it. And those different different perspectives can come from literature. They can come from international partners, but they can also come from different disciplines. And we know, if you look at Betty Lesk's model of internationalization of the curriculum, she talks about the core is knowledge in and across disciplines. And we know that it can be a profound shock for students to acknowledge that other disciplines look differently at the same knowledge. So the interdisciplinary is an important provider of other perspectives. So maybe, I don't think multi-perspective education is a very attractive term, but to me it would maybe convey more of what internationalization is like. And the whole discussion that we have now on decolonization is, to, in my perception, overlapping to a large extent with internationalization, because it is also about changing perspectives around and looking at things from another viewpoint. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry,
Can I add
was
just one thing? Is that okay? Just Global Warriors just had a recent article talking about, was it a pedagogy of new encounters? Was it? They were talking about a pedagogy that has encounters of other. I think the direction of this discussion that's going seems to be that the encounters of other doesn't have to be international. It could be locally, it could be just within community, you know, with among the Japanese, with the diversity within it also, just encountering others and enhancing that opportunity to encounter the others from yourself might be a direction that we're going.
I agree with that entirely. That's absolutely correct, because even so I've used the term interculturalization, but if you don't interpret culture in that very, very broad sense, different kinds of backgrounds, cultural others, we tend to think of culture as being people from a different country or a different religion or something like that. But really, you're exactly right. And Louise Townsend in Australia has talked about border crossings and the borders being anything which we see as a barrier between ourselves and others, as it were. So it's helping people to understand that how you are is not normal. You are different from everybody else, and everybody else, you know, we've all got different perspectives on things.
Okay, is there anyone who wants to make a final comment? Yes, and if there is no, I'd like to invite Professor Afutao Fan from Hiroshima University for ending remark. Ko-sensei, please.
Hello, everyone. This is Futao from Hiroshima University in Japan. And it's a privilege to make a very brief remarking conclusion of the discussion and seminar. And first of all, I'd like to express my sincere thanks to all 5 speakers, and as a faculty member of a Research Institute for Higher Education, Hiroshima University, that is co-hosting this international seminar. And I think this is indeed really an international seminar. And we have 5 speakers from 5 countries and regions. And we have 2 from foreign countries, 1 from the UK, the other from the Netherlands. And also, all these arguments have been made at different levels. We have presentations discussed at the global, national, institutional, and even course levels. And also, all these discussions have been touched on conceptions, policies, and even practice of internationalization at home in particular. And so I think it is, I believe that almost all of us will benefit a lot from these presentations and discussions. The second point I'd like to emphasize is apparently there are clear similarities between Japan and the UK and the Netherlands. For example, there seems to be an increased important role of online learning and teaching, and also the importance to facilitate the understanding of both academic students of different cultures and cultural diversity across countries and regions, even and after the pandemic period. But also on the other side, there are apparent difference between the UK, the Netherlands, and Japan in terms of the quantity and diversity of for example, international students. And for example, in the UK, and according to Professor Jones' argument, there are many different kinds of migrant communities across Europe. But in Japan, relatively speaking, there are few, for example, local communities consisting of migrants, even compared with the Netherlands. So this might be one of the factors affecting the promotion of, how to say it, is global cultural collaborative efforts made by Japanese universities. And I think we have discussed intensively over how the pandemic has shaped internationalization of higher education, or we have other terms like internationalization or translation of higher education. Perhaps it would be more important and meaningful for academics from the UK, and Europe, and Japan to work together to address some of key points that would continue to shape the internationalization of higher education, not only in Japan, in UK, or the Netherlands, but for example, a majority of countries at a global level. For example, why internationalization at home seems to be increased, important, and popular, several limitations cannot be neglected. And because the focus of international seminar this time is primarily placed on the discussion of internationalization at home, especially concentrate on discussion of curriculum development and student learning. And maybe we need to consider how to update and redefine the phrase internationalization at home, since it is basically defined in comparison to internationalization abroad, according to whether there's a physical mobility of students, academics, and administrators across borders. For example, with the increased higher proportion of academics and curriculum from overseas partner institutions and industry leaders contributing to the course curricula virtually or online, the basic characteristics of traditional development of internationalized curriculum at home have been greatly changed. And related topics, there is a little doubt that online teaching and learning would become more important. However, how to evaluate the effectiveness of online teaching and learning, especially student learning outcomes from their participation in online teaching and learning, this is a very important issue that we have to address. And finally, understanding cultural diversity or difference cannot be only limited in classroom or formal curriculum. Perhaps they can be learned, understood, experienced through more from an informal curriculum. Campus culture, in-person communication with students with different values of culture, and more importantly, the environments in which students are living, their communication with local community and local people outside campus. I have listed several important issues to be addressed in the future. So hopefully we may meet again and work together in person or and virtually on these issues. Thank you all.